Welcome to Season 2 of the Moving On Podcast. I'm Jay Norman.
Hi, I'm Jessie Norman. We sure have missed you guys. And if you're new around here, welcome.
Babe, you got anything you want to talk about?
Oh, I bet we will think of something.
We always do. Hi, babe.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh gosh, I don't have my headphones on.
You might want to start with that one.
I'm really rusty. Okay, go again. Stop.
Hi, babe.
Hi.
What'd you forget the first time?
My headphones.
Doesn't work too well, does it?
I was like, this is not right.
Something doesn't sound just exactly right.
No.
Well, we're back to going a little bit.
What does that mean?
Well, we're
Going where?
we're up here recording. We're going forward.
But we
with the
haven't
podcast.
missed anything.
I know, it just seems like it's been a while.
And I have a whole nother podcast that I've been doing and editing and working on. So really, I'm not slacking.
Well, tell us a little bit more about
I'm
that
doing
one.
double. I'm just kidding. Oh, my girlfriend, my 4 best girlfriends and I are doing a podcast called the Huddleco Podcast. As I'm talking to you guys, my husband's eyes are wandering. You bring him back up here? Bring him back up here to my
Got it.
eyes.
Check.
I feel very disrespected
Sorry about that.
when you stare. But anyways, it's a really wonderful podcast. We've been trying to do every other week, Huddleco 1 week, then moving on the next week. It's been a whole lot of fun trying to keep up with it.
And how's that going? Y'all having fun?
Oh gosh. Yes, first when we did the mic checks, it's the hardest I've ever laughed in my whole life. I had my eye sockets were soaking wet. I had tears running down my face, and I just thought, this will never happen again. This is just a fluke. But we did our first episode, and again, hardest I have ever laughed, like trumped the mic check.
No, that's been a lot of fun. I get to hear you do a little bit of that and hear you do the editing, and I can tell y'all are having probably too much fun.
You get to hear each part 4 or 5 times.
I do. I know it pretty well.
To where I can get it where I want it.
By the time it's done, for sure.
We're having the best time. You know what's really neat? I haven't even really talked to the girl. I talked to Cam about it the other day, but we take turns hosting. And that's been really neat because there hasn't really been much pushback. Cam jokes about not being ready, but she's ready.
Yeah.
But what has been really neat is we have taken turns hosting the episodes, but what you don't realize is there's kind of been someone sitting in the background for each episode also. So we wanted to have 4 people because on Squadcaster, you can video and audio record for a podcast, but it can only be 4 people. So when we knew we had a family of 5, we didn't really know exactly what to do. I didn't know if it would be too much, but it's been wonderful because we've had a host, and then there's just kind of been an unwritten, someone not really feeling like plugging in fully. So on the first episode, I think it was Cam. Cam was just really nervous. Not as ready to...
Just a comment here and there.
Sure. Yeah. She's gotten a lot better. And we've started recording in the evenings, so she's had a little bit of liquid courage. The second episode was me. I was not entirely plugged in. I don't know why. It was just an evening where I was feeling a little aloof and kind of sat in the back, as you would say. And then the third was Brenna. We kept saying, Brenna, are you there? And she was hanging out with one of her kids was in the room. And I just thought, that's so neat how God has positioned us to 1 host, 3 are plugged in, and 1 fills in where they can, but not as much.
Right. I think it's an amazing idea and still love what y'all are doing. I know we covered it in episode before, but I think it's a great deal.
Thanks, y'all. We're having a blast. It was totally God-breathed for us to pull it all together, and you can tell His hand is in it because everybody has just been so positive and so saying it's just been such a nice little breather, a little break from what's been going on in the world. So we've only gotten positive feedback, and I'm really, really proud of them and thankful for them. And Sherry's birthday was yesterday, and we all celebrated, and it's nice being a part of something so sweet.
Well, and that's an interesting way to grow relationships too.
Yeah.
It really is doing it a different way.
Yeah.
So on the farm, get caught up there a little bit. We
Yeah.
actually got to plant wheat in dry ground for the first time, I think, in 2 or 3 years, and so that was nice. We got the most of it done before it rained, but we're back trying to finish a little bit today and hopefully get going good tomorrow. So because we did get some rain, and trying to get the ground ready to plant corn, and just got a lot of projects going on. So it's been really busy and hectic as normal.
Yeah, you're trying to expand our operation physically.
Well, just making some more parking that has rocks, so we're not parked in the mud all the time.
Yeah,
So
we get really wet here.
We do, and we spend a lot of time moving stuff, moving it back and forth just to get it out if we need it in case it rains. And so we're trying to get more rock to maybe we're going to handle stuff twice quite so much. So, and babe, one other thing that we want to ask our listeners to pray for is our friend Mondo, and I think you posted on Instagram. Some's probably seen that, so you might get us an update on that deal.
Oh dear, if I can.
Yeah.
So one of our, dearest friends, Mondo Flores and his wife, Nicole, and their little girl, Alexis Juliet, and they are expecting another little baby soon. They live down in El Paso. I want to say that on one of our episodes we talked about going down there. I would only assume that we did because we had just the nicest time. And then they've gone to NFR with us, and then Mondo's been up to Dallas. Mondo is about as good as you get. He's just good as gold. And even if I show any of y'all his picture, which I have on Instagram, we've shared all of his pictures, you can just tell in his eyes and in his smile, he's just a good one. He's one of those good whole souls. So is Nicole.
Yep.
We got word about a month ago, and our last 2 episodes were with Tim Watson from L'Incredible. So I was just now asking Jay, how have we not talked about this yet? And it's because we've had those episodes with Tim that aired, and so you guys haven't heard about our life in a good 5-6 weeks, right? Well, about a month ago, we got word that Mondo had been in an ATV accident. The only thing we heard was that he was on an ATV and he hit a pole. They're down in El Paso. El Paso is one of the hot spots of Texas with coronavirus. So Nicole, and this is all from Nicole's sister, all of the information I'm going to get you. She's been awesome keeping us in the loop, but from what we've heard from her is Nicole is able to be with Mondo, our buddy, for about 30 minutes after the accident, and after that she was
only by Zoom.
Yeah, issued out of the room and has not been able to be by his side. So a nurse goes in for an hour every morning for Zoom with Nicole, and an hour every evening. So Nicole plays him worship music. She prays over him. She talks to him. She begs the nurse to kiss him on his head, stroke his arm, stroke his hair. She tries to ask the nurse to kind of be her hands. And it has been, my goodness, one of the most incredibly painful things to hear about, because we just want to fix it for them and help her.
Well, and he's just so full of life and such a big personality, and just started a new job and got a lot of things going on. And
yeah, so we went straight to Instagram and begged everyone for prayers, and everyone has been so helpful, and more than any other time in my life, just checking on him and seeing how he's doing. Somebody that you guys don't even know, checking on him and praying for him. And it's been about 4 or 5 weeks and she's not been able to even be in the room with him, and just so impossible that must be for her. I know he's been opening his left eye and fidgeting his leg. Well, we got word about 30 minutes ago that he got accepted to the program in Dallas, Texas, here, close to us. So they actually are getting on a plane tomorrow. Nicole will get with Mondo on a plane and come to Dallas. And so we are just so over the moon excited. There's just wonderful care facilities and doctors here in Dallas. And so we know he's just going to be in some really good hands. I was not expecting her to text and say that they were going to come to Dallas.
Yeah, I would have never thought that either.
Me neither. I didn't even know it was an option, but I know all of my nursing friends were like, get him out of there. Just get him somewhere to where Nicole can be by him. Because to me, that's the best fighting chance he has, is with her by his side.
Yeah.
So if you take that away, I can imagine the studies that will be done after Corona showing the statistics to the ones that were alone in trying to heal. You know, I just can't imagine, with what we know about the human race and what we know about love and each other, I can't imagine him doing well compared to when she's right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an uphill battle for sure, but I think Dallas is a great place to be for, for the doctors and for his sake, and hopefully we can do our part there to help him. And I know his parents are coming here too, and going to be living real close. So anyway, we just wanted to bring that up to ask our listeners again to pray for him and his family and for what all they're going through. It's a pretty devastating time.
We're asking for a miracle.
Yep, for sure. So, babe, we just got through a holiday, and we've talked about many times on our podcast about how, as a blended family, that's always been a struggle to figure out where to go, what to do, and keep everybody happy. Well, just all holidays, but this last one was Halloween, and we finally just gave up, I think. Not necessarily gave up, but and just let every one of them do just exactly what they wanted.
We really did. We got out of the way. My friend Merritt, she calls Halloween a gateway holiday to Christmas and Thanksgiving, how horrible it can be for blended families. She called it a gateway holiday, like a gateway drug. That made me laugh so hard. I guess Hartley had come home first. Well, she was the one biggest on plans. So right in the beginning, she kept saying, Jesse, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Yeah. And I told Jay it warmed my heart so much that she was already excited about it because they're getting older.
Yeah, and this was the first time in 3 years or more.
No, you keep saying that.
Yeah.
You forgot last year. I think you suppressed it.
I guess I did.
We were together last year.
Yeah, that's right. I remember now.
I know, but you and I have even had this conversation. Yeah. He keeps saying that we weren't together last year. We were. It just didn't go well. So your heart shoved it deep down.
Yeah, we had
wrapped it up.
Too many people to keep happy last year, and this year we didn't worry about keeping any of them happy.
No, we didn't. Go find your own candy, darn it. I know Jay's daughter, Hartley, came home first and said she wanted to go to a party. But we started doing the whole, we're together this year. We're not together for much longer. We really need to do things as a family. And he told me he had said all of that. And I was like, we just need to let go. Like we're trying to control every little variable. And with our discussion with Tim, I think it helped us to kind of let go of some of the grips that death grips that we had.
Well, I mean, but even for me, it was a selfish deal just to want to watch her trick or treat. And
I know.
In case, it might be another 2 or 3 years before I get them.
She wanted that too. Yeah. She was so torn. And also, our pastor has been talking a lot lately about surrendering and how fear and control can lead to
friction, I believe is what he...
Friction, addiction, exhaustion.
Yep.
Nothing we really want for our lives and nothing we really want to pass down to the kids. And how that surrender can just lead straight back to light and love and goodness. And so I could hear Jay when he was talking, and I was like, you know what, babe? I don't think we need to continue any part of you're not going to get to have fun this year because we have 2 homes. I don't want them to resent anything like that. And so where I really wouldn't let my kids have sleepovers when we're all together because that's our only time together. Or I wouldn't let them have friends over because maybe it'll mess up the chemistry of us and we're not together all the time. I was always kind of I am still controlling things, and what I'm finding is we just kind of started saying yes a little bit more to things that they were asking. And so she kept asking all day about the party or trick-or-treating, and she kind of slipped into a little bit of a funk.
Yeah.
But when we got to the bottom of it, it had everything to do with candy. You know, you kind of make up the reason like, oh, she doesn't love us, or she's not happy here.
Yeah.
She's not adapting well. And then you pull back the curtain and the real reason is candy.
That's
and you're
right.
like, oh, gosh. So
Miss out on the door-to-door free candy. Caused a problem.
So on Halloween night, all our children were in about 5 different towns.
Yeah, so you had the littlest one.
My ex-husband and I were able to take our youngest one trick-or-treating, just the 3 of us, and it was just really nice. Jay came and picked up Lily and a couple of her girlfriends.
And then we shipped one other one to a grandparent. So we had one at a party, one at a grandparent, one with friends trick-or-treating, one at our house with friends, and then y'all were with Cash.
Yep.
And it worked out really well.
Liza was in another subdivision. We caught back up with her, but overall, I just got to have a nice night with Cash. And with him being so little, our only other trick-or-treater was Liza, who is 11, and she didn't really want to be with her mom. She wanted to be with her friends. So they had the nicest time, and I was just so glad our community allowed the older tweens to be there, you know. So it was really nice. It was our best one yet, and it had absolutely everything to do with us surrendering to what will be, and we'll just get out of the way, and we'll stop trying to create the love, and we'll just allow the love to fall on us.
Well, and just quit pushing in the direction we want them to go, and just, you know, when something like that, let them go in the direction they want to go or need to go.
Right.
And it all worked out. It just, parts of it were a little painful getting there, but, you know, it ended up not being any big deal.
Well, in the end, I have 5 children wanting to go 5 different directions, and in walks my husband and says, I think I want to go see Lucas play football. So he went and watched our nephew play football, and I was like we needed another. But then it went back to, all right, okay. You know, we just kept saying yes, 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 yes. What do you want? Yes, you get that. Yep, you can have it. And we stopped trying to fight against every part of it. What was really neat is when he went to that football game, he told Hartley, you can't go to the party right now. We're going to the football game. And that made her even more upset. And I was like, I can take her. You go to the football game and I'll get her ready in her costume. Well, she had been in a funk all day. When she has a decision to make, it kind of sends her reeling.
Yeah.
And she could not decide between, because she's sentimental too, very sentimental. Sure. So she could not decide between trick-or-treating with her daddy and getting candy or going to her favorite party. It was just this perfect storm where the party fell on Halloween night, and it never does.
Now, and my son, all he wanted all weekend was to go stay with his grandparents, and I called, and I mean, that's what he wanted to do for Halloween, and he went, and I got to eat supper with my parents and send him off, and he had the best time, and it worked out really well, and we would have fought tooth and nail to have them all 5 together not long before that.
About a week before that, we had decided and have decided that I'm going to take my children to Baton Rouge for Thanksgiving, and Jay is going to take his children to Howell for Thanksgiving. It's going to be our first official separate holiday because we just kept trying to fit a round peg in a square hole? Mm-hmm. Is that what you say, or a square peg in a round hole?
Same difference.
But what do people say?
I think either one.
Okay. We had already decided that because it's always just this huge tug of war. Like, my kids need to be with their grandparents. Well, my kids need to be with their grandparents. Well, this is their one holiday. Well, this is their one holiday. It's so tricky how it can occur all together, and we just had, again, a death grip on it. And this is what it's supposed to be. We're not going to be a wonderful blended family unless we're completely together and holding hands and skipping down the sidewalk. And anyways, we just kind of relinquished control of it already about Thanksgiving, and I think that again came from Tim Watson and talking about freeing up your family from all of these expectations that you and I have had for years.
Right.
And hasn't it just been so much nicer?
It has. Our dynamic as a family, if we're sitting down to supper or if we're all in one room, that is our best dynamic.
Yeah.
I mean, everything flows when we're together. When there's one off or something's different, it's not as good. But the circumstances of this year and you not being back to Baton Rouge because of coronavirus, not seeing your family, and this this Thanksgiving falls when it's at my parents' house, which is the big gathering. And so, I mean, it's just one of those years, just like with Halloween, where we had to just let it happen.
Yes.
We're just having to let this happen, too. It's just a set of circumstances.
And if you guys are new listeners, you guys need to know that I have this huge family in Baton Rouge. I'm one of 4 children. They are all married, have children, my mom and dad. And when we gather with boyfriends and girlfriends, it's about 25 deep. Jay's is just about the same size. Yeah. So we came together and we brought these 2 huge families together. And it's not something that's very easy to navigate. Usually in a marriage, you've got one that has a pretty big family, and not with us, we both do. So
and both like to be with them.
Yeah, I think that's not very common. It's a good problem, I think.
Well, we brought a lot of tradition to our marriage that had to be broken just because it just wouldn't fit.
You were very used to being with your family always.
Yep.
And I was very used to being with mine.
Yep.
And so for the past several years, we've really butted heads. And when you have blended families or when you're in a divorce situation, holidays are already not really your favorite because they just come with so much stress and drama about how to navigate them. Or you're either missing your children or your children are with you and they're missing their other parent.
Yeah.
So holidays can be a little bit tricky.
Yep. So we're going to try the version of being together, our kids being with us, but us not being together.
And we're going to miss each other.
Yeah, it's going to be a long Thanksgiving. It sure is.
Yep. But we're heading to your favorite rodeo this week.
We are. We're going to Amarillo to the Ranch Rodeo Finals. Looking forward to that.
This is Jay's Super Bowl of the year.
It is.
Y'all know mine is Las Vegas in December, which I don't even get this year. Huge eye roll, but y'all don't see me. But this is my love's weekend of the year.
Yep.
So I'm going to take him to Amarillo, and to celebrate it being his weekend of the year, I'm going to make it rain at the trade show. Just for you, babe.
Celebration.
Just for you, babe.
Yeah, I'm used to that. I'm ready for it. Ready for it for sure. But no, we are looking forward to that. It is a busy time, and we're coming up on a time where we're not going to be together for our first time, but we're going to make the best of it ahead of it anyway.
Yeah.
We are. So, babe, we were talking a while ago about surrendering our family, and you said the fear, the control, the friction. On the other side of that, when we do surrender, which is what we've just talked about, making these sacrifices for our kids to be with cousins and all that. I mean, we surrender. That gives us relief and freedom and joy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing, and that's what we're trying to pursue. And that's the other side of the flow chart that our pastor talked about a couple of weeks ago.
When we just kind of quietly back out of the room, back out of their relationships, that's when we've been able to see growth in them. And then when we see that demise is when we are straight up in their relationship. And, the inevitable having to discipline them, or we're spotting bullying or spotting things that shouldn't be said to each other. Of course, we have to intervene. But the relationship will pay for it,
right?
Which sucks. But so we do have to walk that fine line of this has to be said, but they will lose some ground in their relationship.
I think so, but I think it just boils down to we're not force feeding them.
Yeah.
Something they don't necessarily want. And I go back again, it just says relief, and then you get freedom, and you get joy. And the next part of that flow chart, which goes right along with what you're saying, is it makes things smoother.
Yeah.
And it gives you love. And I mean, that's what we found is that, if we just let things go, I mean, it makes our life so much smoother because we're not fighting that battle all the time.
I know the little part to get from the hard to the easy, from the bad to the good, is that little, very uncomfortable beat. This is not natural. This is not right. This is not how I was raised. This doesn't feel good. And I want to say that a lot of times we don't push through that really uncomfy spot to get to the good part, because it's almost like a turn back now. But what we're seeing is if you can just let it suck or let it hurt for just a minute, the good stuff is like right on the other side of that. And I think it's the practice of going through that sucky spot. You can prove to yourself time and time again, if I walk through this, there is a reason for me doing it. There's something very good on the other side.
Right. Well, and I think what got us on the topic and talking about our family was just talking about the state of the world and how much friction and how much animosity and how much difference and how much we're divided.
Yeah.
And you go back, fear, control, friction, done by medication, addiction, exhaustion. And then you go to the other side, you got love, surrender, and smoother. And that gives you joy, freedom, and relief. And I just think that you take the same principle that we're talking about with our kids, and if people just back out and just let things be what they are, and you have your beliefs, and I'm not saying you don't stand up for them, but you don't have to force feed everybody to the point where, where that animosity comes through.
No, and our culture just calls it keep scrolling. But I think a huge thing to say now is just that it does start right here at home base. It starts with us, and I think it takes a little bit more to spread like wildfire. I think the hate spreads so quickly, and for some reason the love takes a little bit more, but that doesn't mean we're not up to the challenge. And I think that I saw this neat thing the other day that said, don't be mean. It just makes the mean people look normal. And I know that maybe we're a lot nicer more of the time, but there's still these instances where we lose it.
Sure.
And I really think that that's what we can do. That's our part, is to learn that self-control, to learn to love the difficult people. Because say we are loving 90% of the people in our life, we still are withholding love from a certain handful of people because of what's happened in the past. And God says, what is it to me that you love people that love you back? That's nothing. I want to see you loving the difficult ones, the ones that are hard to love. That's what I'm talking about when I say love. I think we feel a little helpless, like what are we in the grand scheme of it? And I really think there's a lot that can be done here in our own lives.
Right. It has to start somewhere.
Yeah,
sure.
Don't you think?
It does. And you had a good verse you had read to me on that subject too.
Yeah, it's Luke 6:32 through 36. I'll just read all of it. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who are good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do that. And if you lend to those whom you expect repayment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners, expecting to be repaid in full. But love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, because He is kind to the ungrateful and wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful.
I think that whole verse hits everything that we've talked about, and puts it in the right direction. And if you look, to me, the freedom piece of that, just like us just giving up on Halloween, letting it go how it goes, gave us the freedom to enjoy it and not fight it. And
it was so nice.
And that's what we found in our life. And I mean, that's ultimately, what I think a lot of people need to just let stuff go and quit focusing so hard on it to try to find some freedom and it not just be all consuming to keep that hatred and that animosity up.
Well, and that reminds me, and I want to brag on you, and you won't want me to brag on you, but we're trying to get my children's dad out of the city. He's just as country as us, but he got stuck in the city during our divorce because our kids needed to be in the school district, and you can't really live in the country and be in the city school district. So he's been stuck in the city, and he's confided in me about it, and instead of you leaving it up to me or telling him tough crap, you got to stay there. You got to stay there. We need someone in the school district, or our kids can't go there. You had the busiest day on the farm today, and you were sending me houses. You were looking for houses for him, and you were sending me listings. And I told my girlfriends, how in the world do I have a man that is looking for my ex-husband the perfect home? It just says so much about your character and who you are. And even more about him, because he knows where the listings are coming from. I was telling him you were looking for them, and he didn't have a problem with it. And just the things that he has said throughout the whole process, you guys have been such models of good, decent, adult human beings to me that I want to scream from the rooftops, but you kind of have to be a little gingerly about the information. But I think I can say that. I can edit whatever you don't want me to put on there, but I guess what I want to say, babe, is you did surrender a lot of that. You could hold on to things because we come from divorce, and you could hold on to things where you didn't want me to be so close to my ex-husband because that has to be uncomfortable for you. And to surrender and know and trust me, I feel like it opens us up for a lot more love in our big picture, our big family. And that just means a whole bunch to me.
Well, I think it should be part of every process along that. I mean, because ultimately, that's the way things need to work. That's what's best to the kids. And it's not always easy, but it has to be done. And I don't know why it can't just be done easy.
Right.
There's just so many ways in everything we do in life. If we would just, quit trying to fight it and just get to the easy stuff and just leave it easy.
I think when we got done talking to Tim, we realized, I think blinders fell off of our eyes after we got done speaking with him. And that's the whole point of seeking wise counsel, is because in one conversation, things can shift, and I mean shift. And I really feel a huge shift in our family after our conversation with him. And I will forever be grateful for the things that he helped us to unveil.
Yeah. Thanks, babe, for saying all that. Yeah. I don't care a whole lot for you bragging on me, but I do appreciate you saying that. And
you remind me of Sherry sitting over there. Sherry hates when we compliment her.
Yeah.
The whole time I'm talking about you, you're just sitting looking at me like, I just want you to please stop right now.
Cut your mic off.
It's so hard for me to keep going because I'm reading your temperature the whole time I'm complimenting you.
Yeah.
And you're dying.
Well, thank you for doing it, number one. And number two, doing that, what you were referencing, that's ultimately, that's for our kids.
Yeah.
And that's something to make their lives better, which, not saying we owe them, but I want to do it for them.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy, and it's not always the easy road to do it that way, but I do appreciate everything he's done for us and the way he's treated us, and that makes it a lot easier to do, for sure.
It does. I know in our sermon on Sunday, God was just talking about how Christ, how he keeps telling us that I've forgiven you just as you've forgiven others. And how you really want to be careful with the outward forgiveness because it's almost tied to the upward forgiveness.
Yeah.
And, just as he's forgiven us, I forgive you just as he's forgiven us. And what our pastor was talking about is when you don't forgive, when you withhold that forgiveness that you've been called to do, which is forgiving everyone in every situation, that's you becoming like Christ. It's you becoming your own idol. And you've decided, no, I decide in this situation that forgiveness is not called for because I've deemed the action unforgivable. And ultimately, you're becoming God. And that's a slippery slope to walk on. I've been seeing that so much in our culture this past month, where people want to extend tolerance and love to some, but hate and condemnation to others.
And that's something you've experienced on a personal level, too.
Yes, we were talking about this the other day. When I wrote for Love What Matters, I wrote my first article. It was so exciting. It was so wonderful. And when I went to write my second article, it fell into a lot of hate. I got a lot of hate for it. The comments were so ugly. I had never encountered anything like that. And it really knocked me out. Yeah. In fact, I haven't written for them again, which is very embarrassing because you would think that I would be able to push through that. But like I said, I just don't really have a community that's
negative at all.
No, I'm in this sweet bubble of love. Especially Instagram is just so much nicer. Yeah. Such a kind community. Our farm community is another gear, even just so nice and loving and supportive and encouraging. I had kind of had one girl that just came after me so hard. The things she was saying were so hateful, and I clicked on her profile, and her bio said, "If anyone is struggling, send me a private message, and I would like for you to come by the house, and I can help you. I don't want anyone hurting or struggling. I want to help." Well, she was the main one absolutely annihilating me. I mean, it was just this horrible hate.
And she hadn't even finished reading the article, or she would have known the answer to the question.
Yeah. And so to me, I just thought we reason it out by those people deserve our love and those people deserve our hate. And it's almost like they think that by hating those people, that's our way of loving these people. So maybe if I think that this community hates a certain race, then I'm going to hate that community to support that race. And it's just so backwards. It's just this cycle that we've gotten into, and it cannot be the right direction. And God calls us.
Well, I think everybody at this point's got to learn to love the difficult people and just force yourself to, whether it's something even if you don't want to do it, I think you have to force yourself to get through it for sure.
It's something that we have to model for our children and for the next generation. And it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to feel nice.
Well, I think that if more people would choose to love and surrender and something that held a lot more compassion, I think a lot of this stuff would go away in a hurry.
Yeah.
I really do.
I think that kind of even goes back to, how Bob Goff always talks about following Christ is a life of being constantly misunderstood.
Yeah.
And I think it is confusing for people to watch you love. Why would you love those people? They are awful. Why would you love those awful people? And it's like, well, because we don't get to decide who we love. We were called to love everyone. And it's not up to us to decide, because left to us, I don't think we're going to make the right decision. And
No,
I think,
that's for sure.
I think in my life, the people that I've withheld love from, I need an attitude adjustment. I just do. I mean, you look at it and you're like, even us sitting in front of Mike saying that we need to love everybody all the time, even the ones that are really hard. You and I both have people in our lives that we have absolutely severed from any type of love or goodness in our lives. And I don't mean bring them into your home for Thanksgiving. My girlfriend always says, bake the pie, hand it over the fence. And, you can bake the pie and hand it over the fence. You can bake the pie and ship it. You can bake the pie and Uber Eats it over there.
Make the effort.
Yeah, you don't have to have that person in your living room, but there's a way to love on them and show them Christ's love at all times. Your hands are never tied with this. Yeah. I just think it really has to start with us, and we have to clean house on the ones that we've been withholding love from, and make sure that we are following it to where our children are picking up on each part of it. And
well, I think it's probably one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
That you can do. Yeah. Period is to do that on somebody you have animosity with, or an ex, or your wife's ex. I mean, it's hard to break down, and I mean, you can't even say it's the right thing, but it's it's just the thing that's got to be done to make everything work.
And it's what He's called us to do. And another part of that is that unforgiveness is like a poison.
Yeah.
And when you finally figure out a way, whether you need to get with the therapist or you need to get alone with the Lord each morning and focus solely on that, forgiving that person that you've withheld it from for so long, what you'll realize is it's been like a poison to you, not to them. They could care less. They don't even think about you anymore. That person that you don't forgive, they probably don't even think about you anymore, but you sure think about them, because by not forgiving them and moving on with your life, and now you don't have to think about them anymore, you think about them all the time because it's eating you up from the inside out. Yeah. And so when you can find a way to go through that painful process of forgiving them and moving past it, is when you don't have to have that poison eating you alive.
And that's something we've seen on a lot of levels personally, and I guess both ways. Some things that we've felt and things that have been directed at us. And we've watched stuff that's been directed at us just eat on a person to where you can tell it's really caused them a physical problem.
Right. Yeah. It's an internal struggle. You not forgiving someone does not harm them in any way.
Yeah.
It harms you 1,000%. They have no idea what you're walking through. Meanwhile, you're slowly dying this death by unforgiveness. And we just don't want that for any of y'all.
That's what our whole country's living through right now. It just there's just a lot of hate out there over every issue you can imagine, and some of it is just so blown up by the media and certain individuals, and some people blow it off and let it go. Some people don't pay enough attention to it, and the other half are paying way too much attention to it.
Well, I think some of the sweetest moments this past 6 months have been figuring out that somebody I love very much thinks opposite of me, and us fumbling through the conversation, but going on to the next topic, and just kind of moving past it as gracefully as we can. I've told you guys about my best friend from 9th grade. She lives in Indiana. We've told you guys about her and how we pretty much think different on every single topic, but our love has only grown each year. That's important to me. And there's family members that I have that we don't think the same, and we know it. And I think the moments where you figure it out Because you kind of assume we all think the same because we're in the same family, or we all think the same because we're best friends.
And boy, that's been apparent here of late.
Yes. And when you figure it out and you have to do kind of the fumbling, like, apologizing and the not sure how to proceed, but then you figure it out. I think those have been really sweet, those little moments, especially when that's not where the relationship ends. And in your mind, you kind of thought that's how that would unfold. Yeah. Like, if I think completely opposite of someone on such a big issue, I bet you that's where the relationship ends. And when you can find out that it doesn't, it's kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah. One bad part doesn't mean it's got to all be bad for sure.
But
that happened to me today. I had talking to somebody and brought up something that totally disagree with it. We just kind of like you said, hit on it just a second and went on to something else.
And you might not ever talk to that person, not sure, but for right then you made it work. Yeah. And I think that's what God is saying is when you G-haul with somebody, nothing is ever tough. It always works out. You can be your most relaxed self with them. You can love them. You're positive that they love you. And he just says, why would that wow me? Why would any of those actions wow me when you're pretty much on autopilot with that love of your life right there? And he's saying, I want the good stuff. I want the person that I want to see you extend grace to that person that you absolutely loathe. Now that's the stuff I'm talking about. Yeah. That's when I really want to see what you're made of.
That's when you get to the hard work.
Yeah.
For sure. So I think going back and what we've talked about is that we kind of surrendered our Halloween. Just let it happen how it happens. And what got us on this topic was talking about how to do that with our lives and everything that's going on. And it is the hard work. And I mean, it's the hard stuff to do on a daily basis a number of times a day. So, I mean, it's something that's hitting you every day. And I think if you can just do it once or just start, get you headed in the right direction for sure.
Yeah. It gets easier every time you think.
It really does. What else you got, babe?
I have 2 brand new farmers I want to welcome to the world.
All right, let me hear it.
One is baby Luke Lilly, Hanky Panky's baby brother, entered the world.
I see.
And the other one is baby Rue Kovarik, Nebraska, Natalie, and Luke welcomed their baby boy, Rue. They were both born last week. And they're so precious, and they are ready to start farming immediately.
And we've got a family member fixing to have a little farm girl coming up here pretty quick.
Yes, the other Norman #farm wife, Keely, is going to have her baby girl.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close.
Yes, so very
looking
close.
Forward to that.
That's been really fun because they've moved into Jay's grandparents' home and have started renovating it, getting it ready for the baby.
Yeah, I think just to get over there and see that baby when it's born and see that house too. It's been a long time since I've been in there.
Yeah.
Really has.
Yeah. Well, we want to tell you guys that we love you guys, and we know that over here we're having some struggles where we're not seeing our family and we're not gathering and things are uncertain, and we're going into the holidays and nobody really knows what that's looking like. And we know that y'all are experiencing the same, and so you guys are in our minds and in our hearts, and we love you guys, and we pray that everything goes as well as it possibly can.
Yep.
We're rooting for you and cheering for you, and we love you.
Yep, and I just would encourage you to put in the hard work where it needs to be done, and just be forgiving and loving as we can in this time for sure.
Yeah.
What else you got, babe?
That's it, babe.
Well, as the song says, the road goes on forever and the party never ends.
I love you.
I love you too.
We sure appreciate y'all listening today. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can search for us, Moving On Podcast. That's 3 words, on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We would love to hear from you. With ways you're figuring out how to drop the ropes in each of your own lives, and even ways that you're not, hell, that's just as entertaining to us. See you in a couple of weeks.